Hello and welcome to Daily Interlake News Now. I'm your host, Taylor Inman. We're taking a look at some of this week's biggest headlines and what's coming up for the Flathead Valley. Every 4 years, the Whitefish Lake Institute hosts the Montana Lakes Conference with the goal of discussing the biggest threats facing our lakes and how we can potentially solve them. I spent some time with Institute founder and executive director Mike Koopal and finance and grants manager Carol Treadwell, who tell us a bit about what the conference will focus on this year. But first, here are some headlines. Kalispell City Council is considering organizing a summit for Flathead County's 3 municipalities regarding homelessness. Councilor Chad Graham pitched the idea during their October 2nd meeting. He cited a Daily Interlake article published last week featuring an interview with Tanya Horn, executive director of the Flathead Warming Center. Horn told the newspaper that the community needs more beds to house the valley's homeless population. Graham raised Horn's comments at the end of Council's meeting, saying that the community solutions must be valley-wide, not just Kalispell-based. He said he wanted to see other municipalities approve more housing construction, examine zoning requirements to allow homeless shelters, and to work with Kalispell to create a valley-wide approach to the issue. Mayor Mark Johnson and Councilors Ryan Hunter and Sid Daoud expressed support for the theoretical meeting. Homelessness has grown into a contested topic in the valley in recent years. Graham alleged that cities like Whitefish and Columbia Falls shuttle homeless people to Kalispell to get them services. Council enacted a series of ordinances last winter following the temporary closure of the gazebo at Depot Park, a move that grew out of residents' concerns about homeless people using the structure. Those measures include limiting the time a person could spend in the public park, banning the erection of structures on public property, and restricting the amount of personal belongings an individual could bring into the public space. Another ordinance aimed at tamping down on roadside panhandling, which included possible fines for motorists stopping to hand over cash, was approved in the spring. Read more coverage of the Kalispell City Council meeting at dailyinterlake.com. North Valley Food Bank is launching its annual Trick or Treat So Kids Can Eat food drive today. The food bank serves about 1,000 individuals every week, and a quarter of those are children. Executive Director Sophie Albert said children and teens make up 25% of the customers they serve each week, so they feel it's vitally important to highlight their needs. With that in mind, North Valley Food Bank is hosting its annual Trick or Treat So Kids Can Eat food drive to benefit hungry and undernourished kids and teens. The community event runs through October 31st. During this time, the food bank will be collecting kid-friendly, non-perishable items at its facility, as well as at schools, local businesses, and grocery stores. The food bank is seeking items such as canned tuna, macaroni and cheese, applesauce cups, cereal, oatmeal, nuts, crackers, peanut butter, jelly, fruit cups, popcorn, fruit snacks, soups, goldfish crackers, trail mix, granola bars, jerky, toothbrushes, toothpaste, and children's vitamins. The food bank requests that sweets not be donated as it seeks to balance the tradition of giving out candy by providing healthy, nourishing foods. To locate the donation bins, look for the black and orange posters with the NVFB logo and the bat symbol in the windows of selected businesses, schools, and grocery stores. Along with food donations, the food bank is seeking volunteers to help with flyer distribution, collecting food donations, and to sort items. To volunteer, visit the food bank's website or contact Anya Brown at anya@northvalleyfoodbank.org. The food bank will also host a food donation bin at their location at 251 Flathead Avenue in Whitefish. For more information about the food drive, you can go to northvalleyfoodbank.org. Citing mounting challenges in staffing, training, and patient numbers, Clark Fork Valley Hospital is discontinuing its delivering of babies effective January 1st, 2024. In a press release, hospital CEO Greg Hansen described it as a perfect storm of challenges. He said deliveries have steadily declined in the past 10 years, and it has become increasingly difficult to recruit sufficiently skilled medical personnel to provide round-the-clock coverage. In addition to this, he said the delivery volumes did not provide the ongoing experience necessary to keep staff fully trained. The facility will continue to provide maternal health services to patients until other care can be arranged. They have also partnered with 2 obstetrical physicians and hospitals to allow some prenatal care at Plains, so mothers-to-be won't consistently have to travel for all their appointments. Hansen noted that the challenges facing the hospital are not unique to the rural healthcare industry. He said delivery services are being cut from many rural hospitals across the country. The American Hospital Association reports that there were at least 89 obstetrical unit closures in rural hospitals between 2015 and 2019. More have shuttered since. Out of 1,976 rural hospitals across the United States, more than 1,000 have never offered hospital-based OB services. The hospital will continue to provide other women's health services like pap smears, annual exams, gynecological care, and the full range of family medicine, including child exams, physicals, behavioral health services, and urgent care. Selenium in Lake Koocanusa, non-native fish in the lakes and rivers of Glacier National Park, and why we're seeing more slimy shores. The Montana Lakes Conference puts a spotlight on the biggest threats against the numerous lakes in the region. Join me as I chat with Whitefish Lake Institute founder and executive director Mike Koopal and Institute Grant and Finance Manager Carol Treadwell about what attendees can expect to learn. I'm here with Mike and Carol with the Whitefish Lake Institute. They're going to be telling us a little bit about the Montana Lakes Conference. The last time it happened was 2019. So Mike, maybe you could start us off with telling a little bit about what the first conference was like.
Yeah, so the first conference was a big success. We brought together natural resource professionals, academia, the public, and a lot of folks from lake associations that are interested in their lakes. And it was a great dialogue of hearing, kind of more technical type papers from the scientists, but also a lot of community-minded presentations on what we can do to best protect the lakes that we all live around and enjoy. And so it was a great gathering. It had kind of a community feel. It wasn't like a typical conference where it's all, like science, So we have two concurrent sessions, one of which is, kind of the science-y type, and then in the other room is more of the community type. So a lot of, again, lake associations or citizen scientists, that type of thing. So it was a good melding of really the lake community, those that work every day to protect them, and then those that live and enjoy and recreate on lakes that also want to protect them. And so I thought it was a great success. We had over 150 folks attend the conference, and it was over the course of 2 days. And again, great discussions. We brought in scientists from around the United States. One in particular, Dr. Jeffrey Schlado from the University of California, Davis, came and talked about Lake Tahoe. And so, of course, Lake Tahoe is, a lake that gets a lot of attention. It is federally funded for its protection, as well as, Nevada and California both funded as well. And so we heard some of the work that they're doing down there and some of the challenges they face, not unlike the same challenges we have in the lakes here in Montana. So it was a great success. In the Whitefish Lake Institute, we're a relatively small nonprofit. There's 4 of us on staff, and so we'd love to do this conference every year, but it really takes a lot of staff time to put this on, and we do it as a service to the resource, to the lake community in Montana, and in particular Northwest Montana. But so we decided to put it on every 4 years instead of every year. And so that way, lake science typically doesn't evolve as quickly as, say, stream and river science and other things. So it's great to give it a little time to season and hear about the new research that's coming about.
Yeah. So what were some of the big issues that were on the table in 2019?
Well, a lot of the same issues that we'll be talking about this year. And so that's kind of nice to have that congruity of, what did we talk about in 2019 and where are we now in 2023? And so a couple of the big issues, for instance, would be aquatic invasive species. So, here in western Montana, we don't have any zebra mussels in any of the waterways. And back in 2019, the Columbia River Basin was the only major river in the United States that did not have zebra or their close relative quagga mussels. But as of last week, we have news that there are now some quagga mussels in the Snake River in Idaho. So that's the first time we've heard of them in the Columbia River Basin. And of course, we don't want them to migrate to or hitchhike to Montana on people's boats and gear. And so we have a fairly aggressive management program to inspect boats, right? And also to do early detection monitoring to make sure that we don't have them. But if we do, we want to jump on it early, right? And that's your best chance. If they become established, then you're pretty much going to be living with them. The other big issue that we'll be talking about again here in 2023 that we also discussed in 2019 was the septic leachate issue, right? So this is something that, might not be on people's radars because, a lot of people don't even know if they're on a septic or a sewer, right? When they flush the toilet, it's like, well, where does it go, right? But there are probably 30,000 septic systems in Flathead County alone. And so we know through a study conducted by the Flathead Basin Commission that, roughly half of them are aging. They're 30 years of age or older. And we know that the rule of thumb with septic systems is once they get to that age, that they're going to start underperforming or not performing at all. And so that means we're going to have nutrients and human pathogens breaking out to groundwater and surface water. And of course, we don't want that, right? And so we're trying to increase the level of awareness on the topic, as well as trying to determine the best course of action to help mitigate that, whether it's policy or education or other vehicles, or ultimately it's probably going to be a combination thereof, right? And so, but it's one of those issues that it's a social issue. I mean, the science is clear. Yeah, we do have septic leachate entering our waterways. What are we going to do about it, right? So we as a community have to talk about it, come to the table, and offer some pragmatic solutions to the issue because it's expensive. There are multiple jurisdictions involved, usually. And so it's a big issue, right? And it's under the ground. People don't think about it, right? But what I tell people is, it's the same thing as the roof on your house, right? If you have a hole in your roof, you're going to be on the phone the next day finding a contractor to fix it. Well, this is out of sight, out of mind, but it can be failing. And again, this is affecting, public waterways. And so all of us, all people here in Flathead County and elsewhere need to do their part to maintain their personal infrastructure so that we don't impact shared resources.
Is the new plant that the county just approved to be built, do you think that's going to be like a topic that will be discussed in relation to that?
Yeah, I think we're going to touch upon that, at least peripherally. We have a septic leachate panel at the conference. And of course, in Flathead County, people don't know generally that, all the porta potties, all the vault toilets, that septage, the solids at the bottom of those tanks get pumped, right? In fact, we encourage homeowners to pump their tanks every 3 to 5 years based on usage. And all that goes and is land applied currently. And so the issue now is with all the people moving to Flathead County, a lot of those agricultural fields are being sold for development, right? And so we are literally running out of fields in order to land apply septage. And, that also gets into the question, is that a good idea, right? And so I'm encouraged and I'm happy that the county commissioners have approved and have purchased land south of Kalispell. It's not in our, it's not in our wheelhouse to say where this should be located, right? But the fact is that we need a biosolids facility, and so I'm encouraged by that action.
Yeah. So you mentioned there's going to be a panel discussing septic leachate.
Septic leachate.
Leachate.
Yeah.
I always get that wrong.
Yeah.
Carol, I didn't know if you could talk a little bit about other kind of panels that are going to be at the conference this year.
Yeah. Well, as Mike said, we're hoping to gather lake lovers and reservoir lovers of all sorts, scientists, agency, and citizen science. And so we've designed the conference with the 2 concurrent sessions, but on every topic that is a challenge to Montana lakes, hoping to forge solutions to them. So the conference will kick off actually on Wednesday, October 18th, with a welcome reception and community night where Flathead area youth will give poster presentations on why they love Montana lakes. And then there'll be 3 short science talks designed to the layman voice so that it's digestible by everyone. And then there will be awards for our Northwest Montana Lakes volunteers. Complimentary refreshments, and that's free and open to the public. We encourage people to come and support our local area youth and students. And then the main part of the conference starts on Thursday morning, October 19th, and that registration for that is required. And we've invited national speakers from across the United States. Our keynote is Andrew Sansom. He's worked for 50 years in water conservation. He's highly awarded from every conservation group in the United States. And he founded the Meadows Center for Water and the Environment. He spent 50 years bringing people together to talk about water conservation topics like we're talking about here today. So he'll sort of set the stage for everything we want to talk about during the conference. And then our very own Jim Elser, who is director of the Flathead Lake Biological Station, will speak, and he's just been voted into the National Academy of Sciences. So his expertise is phosphorus. It's something that we all need to live. It's a nutrient that we need, but too much of it makes our lakes green. So that greening of lakes is going to be another big theme through the conference. And then our second plenary will be Dr. Dan Wickham. He's a microbiologist. He's used microbes to keep water clean. He's also used microbes to make wine. So the same thing that keeps water clean makes wine. Come learn how.
Huh, interesting.
So that's our plenary, which is joint, and then we break out into these 2 parallel tracks, and we have sessions focused around nutrients, around contaminants, specifically selenium in Lake Koocanusa. And during that session, we'll get the tribal perspective on that. An expert from the Salish Kootenai Confederated Tribes will talk about their perspective on selenium in their native fishing waters. We also have sessions on that include, citizen science. Here's a report from your local beach. Come on, find out. How do you know you want to swim there or not? And in Montana, we're so blessed with blue lakes. Everything's focused around keeping them clean, clear, and blue.
What are the things you are thinking of? What are you trying to achieve when you're putting this conference together?
Well, I've attended numerous conferences through the years, and you don't really hear much about lakes and reservoirs, right? So you hear a lot about streams and rivers and fish and those things, but really I found there was a void in the conversation centered around lakes and reservoirs. And I thought that was unfortunate because, especially here in Northwest Montana, we're very lake rich, right? Lakes are, as Carol said, are relatively pristine as related to other lakes in the U.S. And the goal here is to keep them that way, right? Because if you talk to people that migrate out to Montana from the Midwest or, wherever, a lot of lakes have kind of gone south. They've turned from nice crystal clear to, kind of greenish or brownish, and we don't want that to happen here. And so we want to encourage that dialogue to forge the solutions so that we maintain our water quality. Because we know that, we all live here because of, our lakes and our water quality. We all recreate, they all add some sort of lifestyle amenity to our personal lives, and as well as being an economic driver to Northwest Montana and Montana in general, whether it's property sales or the tax base that it generates for local schools and government services. So lakes are important, and there's a lot going on there under the surface of the water, as compared to if you just go look at a lake, it looks nice and calm, and but there are a lot of biogeochemical reactions going on underneath that we need to understand, and we need to make sure that we protect public health. And that was really kind of where we landed at the Whitefish Lake Institute early on, is instituting projects that protected public health. In my former life, I did a lot of fisheries biology, and that's really interesting to me. But until we wrap our arms around and find solutions to these public health issues, whether it's septic leachate or gasoline constituent loading or those types of things, we need to forge solutions for those first before we better understand the intricacies of the biology in the lake. So.
Yeah. I want to bounce back to something that you said, Carol. I thought it was fun, and then it kind of slipped my mind as we were talking. But you mentioned that there were awards for volunteers.
Yes.
I didn't know. Could you tell me what some of the awards were? I'm just curious.
So the Whitefish Lake Institute has a long-term monitoring program, and that includes Whitefish Lake, of course, but it also includes 42 other lakes in northwest Montana. And we recruit volunteers for each one of those lakes to go out and do water quality testing. And they do that all summer long. They test the temperature, they test water clarity using a Secchi disc. They're really dedicated, and every year a couple of them do stand-up performance, or maybe they've just been in there working hard for so many years, and we like to recognize that. So every year we choose two to give an award to, and they'll be receiving those awards at our opening session, the welcome reception and community night. So again, it's another way to bring our community in, the citizens who are supporting our long-term monitoring.
That's awesome. Yeah, I learned a little bit about citizen science this summer, and it's tough. You know, it takes a lot of work to get up there, and it's a lot of dedication. And so,
yes. Yeah. I just want to mention that in addition to the speaker portion of the conference, there'll be about 10 exhibitors from industry. So we're bringing in business and industries that are bringing solutions to the table, as well a couple of the agencies will also have exhibit booths. So some one-on-one interaction, and then there will also be a lot of time for networking, which we also want to support bringing, and we have representatives already registered from every federal and state agency, the 2 universities, and then every watershed, almost every watershed and lake association in northwest Montana. So there'll be social hours and breakouts to support networking and idea sharing. And then, as Mike mentioned, we'll have 2 different panels, aquatic invasive species and a septic leachate panel, which will have time set aside for questions to the experts and discussion within the group.
Yeah. Do you want to add anything, Mike?
Well, Carol did a great job there. I guess I would add that Wednesday afternoon, even before the community night, we are going to have a workshop this is more for professionals in lake science, but we're bringing in Dr. Aaron Wolf from Oregon State University and Dr. Todd Vatler from Texas, and they will be hosting a conflict mediation and resolution workshop. And so, because a lot of these natural resource or lake issues are complex, we talked about the septic leachate issue, and it takes a lot of great minds around the table to come up with the solutions for that. But there's always going to be some conflict, right? Especially if it's going to be a policy-based recommendation as a solution. And so that's going to be a 4-hour workshop that we have a number of professionals coming to get some insight on how best to deal with issues with the public, that type of thing. And then, I just want to, make it clear that this conference is not just for scientists, right? It's for community members, your listeners out there. And it's scheduled over ME8 days for teachers, right? So they have those days off, Thursday and Friday. And we are offering OPI or PIR credits for teachers. So if there are any teachers out there listening, they can attend the Lakes Conference and receive some of their continuing education.
All right, the Montana Lakes Conference runs from October 18th through the 20th. Thanks for joining me, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Register and see a full schedule of events for the Montana Lakes Conference at whitefishlake.org. Let's see what events are coming up next week. The Festival of Flavors Grand Wine Tasting at the Wacholch College Center is coming up on October 7th. Sample a wide assortment of wines and small bites from local chefs while bidding in the live and silent auctions. Tickets are $100 per person and must be purchased in advance. All proceeds from the Festival of Flavors benefit student scholarships at Flathead Valley Community College. The event begins at 6 p.m. On October 8th, join for bingo on Flathead Lake. The Sitting Duck in Woods Bay has bingo every Sunday, starting at 3 p.m. through the fall and winter. Play for cash prizes plus food and drinks. Look at the menu and find details at sittingduckmt.com. And just a reminder that there are great local musicians playing venues all over the valley. Kelly Diane will be playing White Raven Winery and Vineyard on October 7th at 7 p.m. Eric Allen will be playing at the Firebrand Lounge on October 11th starting at 6 p.m. And also on October 11th at 6 p.m., Joe Procida will be playing Water's Edge Winery and Bistro. Find out where more great acts will be playing at dailyinterlake.com/events. Thanks for joining us. News Now is a podcast from the Daily Interlake. We're proud to be the largest independent newsroom in Montana and the oldest paper in the Valley. Consider becoming a subscriber to support our work. Call Circulation at 406-755-7018 or click the subscribe button in the top right corner of our website. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel to never miss an episode of the pod. Everybody stay safe and have a great week.